Cool. Didn't know I
So,
could.
hello everyone, and welcome to the Talking Stick Show. So on this show, I am joined by two special guests. I have Amanda Joy and Christian Jensen. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello. So we'll start with Amanda. So for those who haven't heard you or seen you before, tell the listeners a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Amanda Joy. I'm the Director of Studies at the Northern College of Clinical Hypnotherapy. I help train and support therapists, clinical hypnotherapists, to get out there and be the best that they can be, because there is a huge need for mental wellbeing services at this time. So it's great to be able to support therapists and who are already existing, but it's really great to be bringing new gorgeous people into the industry as well. I also have a private practice, which I have now transitioned to just online. I work one-to-one with people via Zoom, and I am the host of the Wednesday Wellbeing Show, which is just a platform to raise up and share about some fantastic wellbeing therapists, teachers, gurus, leaders that are out there. Great way to kind of help them to spread their message. And I'm also, and that show goes out, the Wednesday Wellbeing Show it's called, and that goes out on NTR Sounds, which is a radio station in the north of England. And it also goes out on my podcast, and soon to be
Firework time.
I know, on our new platform, which is called Awakened Podcasts, which is going to be amazing. And I might talk a bit about that later if we get a chance.
Yeah,
there you go. That's me.
Lovely, thank you. And Christian, my brother, hello.
Oh yeah, hello. It's thanks for asking me to come on to this. It's absolutely amazing to be here. So I am Christian Jensen, and my business is Sound Journey by Christian. I am a sound therapist, Reiki, meditation and mindfulness practitioner, and I am in the very near future also looking towards training in cacao ceremony facilitation as well. So that'll be another exciting addition to add to my forte. I do sessions for one-to-one therapies, both with sound therapy and Reiki, and regular group sound baths, both in person when we can return to the proper in-person group sessions, but I am also online hosting regular fortnightly sessions on a Sunday evening, with the next session coming up on Sunday the 10th, and then fortnightly from there in this month. And you can find out more information about me on my Facebook page at Sound Journey by Christian, or my website www.soundjourneybychristian.co.uk. I'm also open to corporate wellbeing, school wellbeing, and sound therapy and Reiki within a healthcare setting, as well as meditation and mindfulness. So that's a little bit about me.
Beautiful. And Amanda and Christian's information as well will be just below in the details if you want to have a look there. So we are on lockdown 3.0, the trilogy. So we've had number one, we've had number two, and now we are faced with the grand.
It's a bit like the Matrix, isn't it? The first one was pretty good, the second one wasn't bad. By the time it got to the third one, it was like, come on, it's not right good, this one. Trilogies are always a bit dodgy, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. There are some good trilogies, but only a few.
Yeah, this one's a bit of a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, so I was thinking about that today. For me, the last few days have been very strange because I've had Christmas, I've been busy focusing on Christmas, focusing on New Year. Then kind of after the New Year's Day, it's kind of like all the busyness of Christmas is gone. All of that attention on Christmas is gone. So for me, I was faced with a lot of myself in the last few days, the realization that lockdown's here again. And for me, for my business, I'm kind of at a bit of a standstill coming face to face. So for me, the last few days have been a bit tough. I've had to do a lot of work on myself. I've had to do a lot of speaking because it's been bringing up a lot of old programs within me. So this, I feel like it's the uncertainty of what's happening that brought up a bit of anxiety, a bit of this energy, which I've been having to work on in the last few days. And why I wanted to get Christian and Amanda on this show was to talk about the importance of vulnerability and the importance of speaking how you truly feel. So for me, on my own personal journey, when I was younger, I grew up and I came into the spiritual world in about 2012. I did ceremonies, I was a teacher, but I was holding back so much personal stuff, and I was just putting on this front all the time. And it took me probably 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, when I had this realization that I have to start speaking. I have to start talking to people out there. And I thought everyone wasn't going to listen to me. And as soon as I started talking, that was it. The world started opening up. The right people came into my life. So Amanda, let's start with you. How's lockdown been for you coming into this 3.0?
Well, I just want to say something else before I start, really, because it's awesome that you've asked me to come on and talk about vulnerability, because this is something that I'm really, really working with at the moment, feeling my own vulnerability. And my mantra at the moment is, there is power in my vulnerability. There is power in my vulnerability. And I'm really feeling that. So when I get that kind of, I'm feeling a bit scared, or I'm feeling a bit vulnerable, that's when I know I need to take action. That's when I know I need to do something. So for me, feeling that vulnerability is about, it's almost like an alarm mechanism or a signal to go, yes, do this, it's really right, it's important, or get help, ask for someone, don't be alone through this. Because for me, isolation is actually really bad for me. One of the things that I used to do years ago, before I got onto this spiritual journey, before I got on this path, was I used to be alone a lot. I used to actually be quite afraid to go outside. I remember sometimes, like I remember I used to live in Aberdeen, and I remember being stuck in the house for quite a few days. I remember, like, I'll clean the house before I go out. Okay, well, the house is clean now. Well, now I'll clean myself. So I'd have a whole day of beautifying and washing. Okay, so now I'm washed. All right, and then the day number 3, okay, I'll choose what I'm going to wear today. It took me 3 days to just even step outside the door, like peeking out the door, like some big scary monster out there was going to come and get me. But I was just going outside was really frightening for me. And I remember some days all I could do was just get to the corner shop and get their nearly mouldy eggs and their nearly out of date bread, because there was nothing else. I couldn't face the supermarket, couldn't go out by myself. I was just stuck and afraid to leave the house. And also, whilst I was in that state, I was also drinking and using recreational drugs. So isolation for me is something that is, in the past, has been really, really unhealthy. And it was frightening, again, to face isolation this time round, because I was worried it might trigger those old behaviors, those old thoughts and those old feelings. Actually, it's actually turned out to be a real blessing, has lockdown for me. And I've actually had the most amazing year of my life. There's been a lot of challenge, but that challenge has been a real opportunity for me to grow. But certainly there's been times of real vulnerability, and there's been times I've had to pick up the phone and say, help someone. I've been by myself now for 3 weeks and I haven't had a cuddle. And I'm a real tactile person. So to be in a place where I can't touch anyone and they can't touch me, and I can't receive hugs, and I can't have that physical connection because I live by myself. That's been a real challenge for me. I've had to spend time with myself and really connect with stillness, and that's been uncomfortable and awkward as well at times. And I've had to really kind of go quite deep within and do some work. But as a result, it's actually been a real blessing. So lockdown in general, lockdown more recently. Again, I think after it was the Monday night after Boris did his announcement, I went into anger. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know anything about viruses. He's not read the research. He doesn't know anything about science. How dare he pin us all down in our homes and cause us all this? I was furious. I did the whole angry thing. And then I went into sadness. Oh, you know, I haven't been able to see my family for months and months and get to see them at Christmas. I'm worried about certain family members that are not well, and I'm ever even going to see them again. And then that turned into self-pity. One of my favourite emotions is self-pity. I love a good wallow in poor me, self-pity. So that turned into self-pity. And then I was like, hang on a minute, where's this coming from? What's going on here? You've got a beautiful home. You've got gorgeous people supporting you. Just, you know, get over it and go to bed now. You'll be fine in the morning. But yeah, I do think for many people, we've been through a real roller coaster. And I think people are experiencing like waves of anxiety, and then they're okay again. But yeah, picking up the phone and asking for help, I think is the hardest thing to do. But when you're isolated, when you're frightened, when things are not going well, that's really what I believe you need to do. Anyway, I feel like I've probably
No, you've got as much space as you want to talk. Talk as long as you want. So, Christian, brother, how's the news been for you that the trilogy is here? What was kind of the emotions going through that process of when you heard we are going on a national lockdown?
Yeah, for me, again, it's kind of, to a degree, it's the same as what Amanda just said there in many ways. There is that anger that's there, there's that frustration there, but there's also exhaustion in many ways for various reasons. It's like it feels like it's gone on so long now to a degree that there's exhaustion and there's confusion because we don't really know what we're doing and how to deal with it, and a lot of people won't know how to deal with it. I've got the tools personally in many respects of the importance of the meditation and the breathing and things like that to be able to manage to a degree. But a lot of people haven't got that, and so it is so vital and important to be able to reach out where you can, whether that be in a little video call like this on Zoom or on Facebook or whatever you can, or at the very least a phone call. But even if you are on your own and you can get out into some fresh air somewhere, it's so vital to be able to just get out, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes. I know it's cold outside here at the moment in the country, but it's so important to get out into a little bit of fresh air, a little bit of daylight, and just be mindful of other things around you, of the trees, the grass, the birds, anything like that. It all really helps. I had quite an experience the other day. I did meet up with a friend, socially distanced and stuff, and went for a little walk through the woods, and we sat down on some rocks, and this little robin came. And it sat so close, literally within a couple of feet, and it was looking at us. I'd swear it was looking at it, and that in itself just felt amazing. The energy of that felt amazing because it has been such difficult times. The first lockdown for me was bearable in that sense. We all thought, yes, we're doing what we can to help and things like that. We don't really know what things are about, but as the time went on, I have been in a position where I haven't seen my parents, and it's now just over a year since I last actually saw my parents face to face. And for me, as the youngest in the family, my parents, I am really close to them, and I do phone them frequently on the phone, sometimes even twice a day. But to see them in person, and anybody in person, it's not the same on the phone in a way, although it helps for you to reach out, and it is important for you to reach out and connect in that way. We need to be grateful for that aspect, but to me, in person makes a big difference. That hug, I do miss those hugs as well. The energy of a hug, is so important. Christmas, again, I was hoping to be able to get down to my parents. I'd done as much as I could to minimize my contacts and things, and I felt it would have potentially been safe. But ultimately, the decision that I made in the end was to not go down. And in the end, that was actually the right decision, because throughout this, it's been a real learning curve and an eye opener for myself and my own personal well-being and where I am and because of where I have been as well, the journey that I've been on. I was bullied as a kid, and so that knocked my confidence massively, and this has really helped me to actually go within properly as well. And in the end, over the Christmas period, I spent that time sat alone, quiet, at home, and just allowing myself to go within myself and experience those feelings and help to release those feelings. And as much as it wasn't what I had hoped for, it was what was needed. So to give yourself that time, even if it is 5 minutes a day, to be still, completely quiet if you can, whether that be just out in nature for a short walk or sat within where you are, just to allow yourself to experience those feelings, and that will help ultimately in the longer term for you to release and to free that what might ever be holding you back in that respect. So it has been a real journey, regardless of some of the ways that things have gone on. I am grateful at this moment in time for some of those aspects which have helped me to really connect with myself more, and I feel far more confident now at speaking up as well and speaking my truth, and I feel that will put me into a position going forward to be able to truly help others on their journey as well. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, quite an experience. But gratitude to a degree for it.
Beautiful. And it reminded me when you said that Robin story of something I might, from my experiences and all the lockdown news. I was driving with Gabrielle on the way back in the car, and we stopped and looked to the left, and there was a rainbow, and you saw like just the side of the rainbow. And at that time, I really needed that kind of the sign from the universe to say that there is something infinite out there, and you are part of a whole great universe. And sometimes you do get stuck into the fear and the agent, the kind of three-dimensional thinking of money, this and that, the future. So for me, like your Robin story, I had a beautiful synchronicity of that. Then I was out with Marley on his bike, and he fell over and he was crying. And he was just there crying on his bike, and I was there holding the bike, realizing I've got miles to walk back with him crying. then I said this was on lockdown, and I was like, oh God. Then I looked, and I just looked to the left. What was it to the left? I looked, it was a bit behind me, and there was a rainbow, but it was a double rainbow, and you could see like the doorway. So there was like almost 3 rainbows all together perfectly. You could see them all. And that was, for me, was that you're not alone, you're loved, and there's an eternal love out there in the universe. And sometimes we can get a bit lost, but to have that faith, and for me, faith has been one of the greatest things to pull me through from my self addictions in the past, my self-sabotaging, my unbalanced times I've had in the past. My faith and the will to kind of move forward on and be a warrior in a sense has really guided me to be here now, speaking to Amanda, speaking to you, Christian, and sharing my truth, because years and years ago I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't tell you. I felt like shit. It would just be, yeah, how are you feeling? I'm feeling bloody great all the time. That was what the persona I was giving to everyone. So we were talking a bit about vulnerability. Amanda was starting with it. So Christian, can you explain what's your perspective on vulnerability, and why is it important as well for us to express that to the universe and the world?
It's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because vulnerability is a huge thing. I think when you feel vulnerable, you do automatically feel scared to speak up and to open out. But it's important to sit with those feelings and to understand those feelings and connect with them. And I think vulnerability ultimately comes down to confidence in yourself, but also love for yourself as well. And so I think it's important to again just sit there and experience the feelings, but feel the love for yourself and tell yourself that you in fact love yourself and understand that and feel that. It's important to open out, to speak your truth, and to recognize that you are vulnerable. And in fact, vulnerability, I think, like Amanda did say there, when you feel vulnerable, the best way to really get over that is to in many cases just to take that chance to step out of that comfort position, because ultimately that is what will help you to grow and to move forward. And when you've done it once, you'll never look back, and you will feel that much stronger for it. So yeah, it's important to speak your truth and to take that leap of faith in yourself.
Thank you.
Trust yourself.
Trust yourself. And it was what you were saying as well before, Amanda, was that time where you felt scared to go out at some point, that side of yourself. So let's talk a little bit about what you were going through and how did you make the change to be able to be a very successful presenter in what you're doing now?
Well, you know, it's a combination of both of the things that you've been saying, actually. Faith for me has been a huge part of it. But Christian spoke, and I have to just say, Christian, I've seen you completely change, dramatically change in the time that I've known you. You've gone from being a very kind of timid, like little mouse, to this bold person who's just speaking his truth. So it's gorgeous to see you've gone through that transformation. But I loved what you were saying about you've got to sit with those feelings, and you've got to realize there's something within you that's not right. You've got to realize that there's something within you that needs to change. And for me, I got to a point where, you know, I'd wake up. I'd like to say I'd wake up in the morning, but it wasn't usually in the morning. It was usually in the afternoon. But I'd wake up and it was like there was this dark shadow sitting on the end of my bed. And that dark shadow was just absolute depression and misery and feelings of suicide. And I didn't know what to do with that dark shadow. So sometimes I just didn't want to wake up. Sometimes I didn't want to get out of bed. Sometimes I didn't want to face the day because I didn't want to have to kind of like deal with that shadow, with that darkness, with those really dark feelings. So every day when I woke up, you know, that was just a challenge, even opening my eyes and getting out of bed. And then once I was up and moving around, then I would be, you know, feeling those negative feelings, and I would be feeling those, you know, I remember planning my own death over and over and over in my head. How can I plan to kill myself today? I mean, it feels so very, very far away from where I am today. But it's interesting to reflect on where I was, because there was a point where I kind of hit rock bottom, if you like. My health was massively deteriorating. My body was huge. I was a size 28. I have an autoimmune disorder called hidradenitis suppurativa, or HS, for those who can't say massively long words like me. And, you know, my whole body was covered in sores and boils. My hair was falling out. My teeth were all loose. I was really, really very, very unwell, and I was actually dying. I was killing myself. In my head, I was planning my own death, and my body was physically giving up on me. I had to, you know, I went to see a doctor, and he sort of said, "Oh, your liver function's very, very bad, and if you don't stop what you're doing, you've got about 3 months before we're really talking about, you know, end of life stuff. My skin was going yellowy and my eyes were I'd gone completely blind in one eye and I was losing my vision in the other eye. So I was in a real state. I was in a real mess. And for me, because I'm an all or nothing kind of a person, I had to get to that bad before I had that realization that I need to do something. I need to change something now or it's over. But there was something within me that really wanted to live. There was something within me that wanted to keep going. And I like to think of that as my higher power or God or the universe. It's got lots of different names, but there was something within me that wanted me to live. And I reached out and I got help. I think the first step was really accepting my reality, accepting the fact that my behavior was causing me to die. My thoughts and feelings were unhealthy, and just having this acceptance of I'm not in a good place and I need help. Because asking for help was the hardest thing for me to do, because when I was out there working and being, and people didn't know that I was, taking prescription medication in the morning to get me through. And I was taking a lot of prescription medication.
More than you should have.
Floating through the day on a kind of high little buzz from whatever I was taking. And then at the end of every day, I was drinking really heavily. So I was mixing, lots of pain medication and prescription medications with alcohol. But on the surface, I was this happy, smiley person who was helping everybody. I was nursing at the time. And then I went into teaching. Things got really bad when I went into teaching. And so really, really having that acceptance of where I was. And like Christian said, just sitting with those feelings, because when you try and block them out, my way of blocking out that pain was to drink and to use recreational drugs. A lot of us get busy. A lot of us eat the wrong things. A lot of us binge watch Netflix. A lot of us, get arsey with people on social media. A lot of us get road rage. Whatever it is, that outlet for the discomfort and the pain that we're having we have to have some acceptance of that we're in that pain and not block it out, which is hard, because if you block it out, it's like when kids get to that age when they're going, but why, daddy, but why? Or they're going, daddy, 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 and they keep asking. That's kind of what the pain does. If you don't sit with it, and if you don't accept it, and if you don't do the work with it, it just gets louder and louder and louder and louder and louder until you've got no choice but to do something about it. And for me, I had no choice but to do something about it and make some change. So realizing that I needed to change and having acceptance of the reality of where I was, good and bad, and really sitting with those feelings and acknowledging the reality where I was and thinking about not blocking it out anymore. And then I did a series of work and had lots of therapy, and it, I have some amazing spiritual practices that really keep me healthy and well. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's
it's easy to bury these feelings and things as well, isn't it? And the more you bury it, you push it down and down and down, and you think you've dealt with it and you've shoved it out of the way and you can forget about it, and you carry on about your daily life all the time, and that aspect that Amanda's saying there is of you blocking it out, you're finding something and anything else that you can do that just helps you to keep your mind occupied rather than concentrating on and acknowledging those feelings. The more you bury those feelings, the harder it is initially to be able to also actually deal with it and to begin to move forward. It's that very first hurdle. But the more you bury it, it affects your health. Generally, that is going to break out in some other way and try and gain attention whether it be something as simple as I say simple, but I use this in looser terms, but something as simple as lower back pain or a pain in the leg or the foot or anything, something deeper. It's going to manifest in some way. Try and gauge your attention until you actually take that step and that leap to acknowledge and deal with it. That first step is always the hardest. It's the hardest with many things, but once you've taken that first step, whether it'll be a reach out through a phone call or something, or just within yourself to accept and understand it, then it does and will become easier. I went through a period when I was younger where I was bullied as a child, and I went through depression because of that. It was during my high school years, so I didn't do my GCSEs because I actually couldn't face walking through those gates to be able to actually go and sit down and do those exams. As much as I might have wanted to do it, I couldn't face walking through the gates because of the way that I felt like I was attacked, or I might just be looked upon as an idiot, as stupid, as whatever it was. So I was in that really difficult place. I didn't go as far as wanting to take my life in any way or anything like that, despite the fact that I was there. I went to the doctors. I was on medication. The doctors even turn around and ask you, well, are you thinking of taking, of suicide? They ask you the word. It's almost like that puts that into your head then to a degree as well. So it's almost like it's the wrong thing in a roundabout way. But I went through those years of being depressed and really, really struggling, and that affected my self-belief and my self-confidence, but that's affected me right the way through my life up until a few years ago, and up until last couple of years or so, when I suddenly I got that kind of new energy slowly beginning to leach in, of seeing a vision for where I could go. And it's through the other connections and other people who saw perhaps the real me beneath that facade, that front that I was putting on, and I was allowing myself to be held back by that. I think a lot of people do that. You might walk past a person in the street. You don't know what's really going on in their life, what's underneath that skin. And so I think it's important there to just accept, and that's, if you can accept yourself, you can accept others for how they might be, because you don't know, makes a massive difference, and that only rebounds to you then as well, to boost your own energy and your own self-belief and confidence ultimately.
Beautiful. And that's why when I was taking drugs, all it was just self-abuse. That for me, my kind of why I got on taking drugs was I've had two relationships in my life. One of them I'm married for 7 years, almost 7 years. The first relationship before was about 4 years, 3 years, and that I was fine until the relationship stopped, and all of a sudden I was looking for something to love me. And I was like, this kind of love disappeared, all this crazy love disappeared, and I got so down because of it. And I was fine. I was that guy who never used to drink. I used to have a few drinks, but all of a sudden, after this relationship, opened up a hole in my auric field of this sadness, and that kind of got me onto the path of self-abusing my body. And it got to the point where that self-abuse, I just lost complete touch with myself and who I was. And I was so 100 miles an hour, everything. Like you say, Christian, I never stopped to actually ask myself, how am I feeling? And I look at myself in the mirror and tell you, I love you, I'm here, and you're going to get better, and it's okay to speak these words. There's so many people who are so stuck at the moment because they don't have any support to be able to share what they're going through. So let's talk about the importance of sharing our own story. And Amanda, if you'd like to just go ahead about sharing your own story to help other people as well.
Well, it's really interesting because I haven't shared my story. That's the reality. I was terrified of sharing my story. A lot of people know me now, Amanda Joy, the person who's a bit quirky and a bit mad and always talking because I never shut up, and I'm always laughing and I'm mixed with lots of people, and I've got loads of amazing friends, and I've got this really amazing, blessed life. I really am. My every day is an absolute blessing, and I feel great and happy. And my name is Amanda Joy, and I genuinely do feel joyful.
You walk in your name
day
now.
Of my life. I couldn't even call myself by that name at some point in my life, but I genuinely, and people know me as this person because they didn't know who I was before when I was Manda. They didn't know who I was, and people didn't recognize me. And then of course I got well, and I started a well-being business. And I really had this idea in my head that if people know about my dark past, perhaps they won't trust me. Perhaps they won't believe that I've studied lots of stuff and maybe know how to share tools and techniques that are really helpful. Maybe they'll say bad things about me. Maybe they'll gossip about me. And do you know what the crazy thoughts I had that people about shit, and maybe they'll think I'm unprofessional. And professionalism is something that's really, really important to me. So I felt like I almost had to protect myself and protect my business, and it's all that protection stuff, hiding. I wasn't being authentic. And so for me, telling my story is relatively new, but sort of about the middle of last year, about March time last year, just as we were actually going into lockdown, I started sharing my story about, how it was for me when I was poorly, and what led me to abusing myself and abusing my body, and that self-harm that I was sort of living and experiencing on a daily basis. And I shared that. And what I've realized is that as a result of me sharing my story, other people have been able to share their stories, and people have gone, do you know what? I experienced that. And instantly the isolation is gone, because I'm not alone anymore experiencing this. I'm with other people. I talk about my tribe quite a lot, but I do have a tribe of people. I've got my cheerleaders, I've got my coaches, I've got my sponsors and my supporters, I've got my huggers, I've got my lovers, I've got like a great group of people around me. And they're my tribe, but they're only my tribe because I've shared myself with them and they've shared themselves with me. And that sharing completely got rid of the isolation. Being honest about my reality and about how far I've come has actually been quite surprisingly inspirational to some people. Whereas for me it was, I'd almost like, I talk about, I bubble wrapped it in shame, bubble wrapped my story and move it out and bubble wrapped it in shame because I didn't want to share it. But actually then it just festers in the background and it becomes another thing that you're burying deep inside, which festers and causes more anguish. So yeah, it does feel incredibly vulnerable even sharing that story, but I know that there is power in that vulnerability, and there's healing power in that vulnerability, because my life completely transformed. My health has completely transformed. My outlook, my perception is different. I wake up in the morning now and I go, yay! It's Sunday. What day is it? I don't know what day it is at the moment, but I'm still happy. I know what I'm here. And I do live like Christian. I do live with this feeling of gratitude every day, which is wonderful. And I think it's important to share that, because there may be people who do who can't go out because they're afraid, or they are using substances, whatever that might be, sugar, booze, cannabis, cocaine, whatever it is that people are using. Anger was the one I used quite a lot. I used to love a bit of anger. Gossip, loved a bit of gossip. Anything to kind of distract me from the physical and emotional pain that I was feeling. But that took me to a really, really dark place. And I want to share with people that if you're in that really, really dark place, there is a solution. There is healing. There is transformation. And that transformation can be really rapid. You know, my life is so completely different now to what it was just even 5 years ago. And like I say, every day is a blessing. And I think that's what I really want to get across, that there is a solution. You just have to ask for help. Just pick up the phone, ask for help, get that support, share your story with somebody, and get a tribe around you.
Beautiful. And that's...
You need to reach out, but also reach within. Take that first step, take that leap of faith, and life can and will transform before your eyes. It's amazing, and I am so excited now for where I am, and I am mostly living in the now, in that present moment, and enjoying it as it comes. But I am very excited for the future. I have the past to be thankful for in that respect, because whatever you were going through, it is a learning curve. It is part of a great journey, but ultimately you take that leap of faith in yourself, share your story, and you can transform, and it's amazing.
Beautiful. And there's that the Native American term where they always say, see your past as a teacher, see your present for your own creation, and look to the future for inspiration.
Yeah.
And for me, coming clean with my story, and something I do, which is called Talking to the Fire, which I reckon I recommend people to do this who are listening, is having a fire ceremony and having this fire basically declaring your story, because Amanda and Christian, your stories are so unique, and you have so much soul codes coming out of you when you speak your own truth and you say your own story. And they've got so much teachings in there, even for ourselves. When I listen to myself actually saying my story, it's like I'm being there witnessed by the fire, I'm being witnessed by the ancestors, and everything's okay. My story is just my unique story, and there was nothing to be scared about. I was thinking that because I was saying this story, that something was going to happen to me, or like you say, Amanda, that all of a sudden my business will completely, no one will speak to me anymore. There was all that doubt and that fear. And once I was able to remove that, and for me now, once I came clean about everything, my business has gotten better and better, and I'm meeting different people, and I'm meeting soul family as well now. More and more people are coming into my life, because like you say, Amanda, being authentic is so important, to not try and be anybody else but your true self.
Absolutely.
I do truly see the change in you as well, Dale. I've not known you as long as some of the others that are in our tribe in that respect, but to see the change in you, brother, is phenomenal.
Thank you, brother.
It absolutely is.
And that was it. I feel like I jumped in. I'm always that guy who jumps in the deep end, really. And I felt like I did jump in the deep end a little bit in 2012. I got trained up on Reiki. So I was partying in Leeds. I lived in Leeds. I was taking LSD, all sorts of different things. And I went round to my friend's house, and she had an angelic book about angels. And I was like, oh, what the hell is this? And I opened it, and I was reading it. I was like, what the fuck's this about angels? And this was 2012, the start of 2012. And I was reading it, and it said something about your crown. And all of a sudden, this is what got me onto my spiritual path, was a part of it. This huge energy came onto my crown and started going like a circle, and it started like tingling into my head. And I was like, I looked around, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And I looked at it, and I was like, can I borrow this book? And like, on really quietly to her, I was like, can I borrow this angel book? And she was like, I was like scared to tell anybody I wanted to see this angel book. Then I got that back, started reading about angelics, and I went to see a lady called Jeanette Medley, who from Leeds, a lady angelic Reiki teacher. And I went for a session there, and when she gave me the session, I just felt like I was at home, and I felt like I was not fucking crazy. I was like, I'm trying to figure out who the fuck I am. I don't know who I am. If I didn't find spirit, I probably would have just gone on and killed myself or taken too many drugs. I was heading that way. I really was. I've had friends, I've had really good people in my life who have been taken away from me. Some of the most beautifulest people in my life who have gone. And for me, looking at the roads I could have gone down, I could have gone down that road, I could have gone down that road. And one of my friends who I grew up with, one of my good friends' brother, he passed away probably about 3 weeks ago now. And he's obviously, that was an overdose. And for me, that was kind of like the death of everything, and kind of like the reason why, because I went to the funeral and I saw all these old people I used to speak to. And for me, it was just like that part of me is dead, and that part of me is buried and gone. And it was the funeral kind of gave me that realization of how grateful I am for my journey, how grateful I am to have a family around me. And I was running away from that. I was running away from my children, but I was running away from myself, no one else but myself. And finally, I got myself round. I got the help I needed. I went to see people. I asked for help. And now I said, when I'm not going to do drugs ever again, I'm going to do my own shows. I said to me, I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to speak until I know that I'm not going to take anything anymore, and that side of me. So being able to hear your story, Amanda, hear your story, Christian, it's really great to have you on the show, to just be ourselves and have this space to kind of co-create together.
Oh, thanks for having us. It's a real blessing, and I can barely speak because what you just said there was it really spoke to my heart, because that's how I feel as well. It's great to be able to get our message out there, isn't it, and share step into the vision that we have for our futures, which we've all got really good visions for the future as well, haven't we? We've all got so many amazing things going on, and we're all serving as well, which is really interesting. Because my self-esteem was very, very low. I had no self-worth. I didn't value anything that I offered, really. And part of my healing journey has been to really love myself as well, to build my self-worth, to build my self-esteem. And one of the things that has been really good, a really good way to build my self-esteem, has been to live in service of others and support and help others. And when I'm doing selfless acts, if you like, that's when that builds my self-worth and builds my self-esteem. And it's an honor to be here sharing this space with both of you guys today, sharing our transformational stories. And 2021, boom, let's
Lockdown
go.
Lockdown 5, joke. Christian doesn't like me talking about the future potentials.
Unless it's anything to do with the true movement forward in energy and expansion and everything like that. It is a really positive shift moving forward.
Well, being forced to do that inner work.
That's it. And you speaking about the service, Amanda, I did my reading for the winter time, and one of my readings was cradle board, which came in, which reminded me when you were saying about service to others, that the importance of seeing everyone's cradle board in the back, so that you're kind of helping the future, helping the children, and everyone has their own cradle board, and that's that nurturing the ability to respond to yourself as well. So when you were speaking about that, that came straight up into me then, was the cradle board, and how everyone has their own personal responsibility, and the future generations are on everyone's back, and we are the way showers for the future. And we doing this, Amanda, you doing radio, you doing your shows, Christian, you doing what you're doing, your sound, your radio. We are setting the stage for people just to be able to come into their own power. We've put our hands up, we've gone through the shit, we've gone through this and that, and we're showing the way for you to be able to show the way as well. So it's kind of like passing on our wisdom and our journey.
And that's why I'm excited as well, in part with the futures, because obviously, like Amanda mentioned earlier on, is that Awaken Podcasts. I will also be part of that, and it's just going to be so phenomenal. I can't wait to share with people what I have to share in that respect. I will have my sound therapies, my sound meditations regularly on there on a monthly aspect within the membership of Awaken Podcast, so you'll be able to sign up to that and be able to access that and much more. I'll perhaps let Amanda briefly talk a little bit more about that aspect.
Is it okay for me to?
No, I was about to go. I was literally about to say about
Sorry, I've taken it out.
Tell the listeners what
So,
is
Awaken Podcast is just an amazing collaboration of fantastic, inspiring wellbeing practitioners, health experts. We've got a whole kind of exercise, move your body area. We've got dancing, we've got yoga, Pilates, and lots of exercise in there, lots of videos that you can watch and stream. There's a whole wellbeing area, which is all about things like personal growth, and family well-being, meditation practices, sort of information about well-being in there. There's a whole spiritual side as well, where we're going to be really sharing real beautiful spiritual lessons, things from the Bible, things from the Quran, things from all different backgrounds as well, when because there's some amazing wisdom in some wonderful places. So we're going to be bringing some of that spiritual wisdom as well into Awaken Podcasts. There's a whole area of self-care stuff that we're doing in there, which is about walking in nature, connecting with nature, but using nature and what nature gives us to help ourselves look good on the outside and feel good, because we look good as well. So there's a whole natural beauty and well-being aspect as well. There's downloads and things to read that you can download, and videos to watch, and audios to listen to. There's also meditations in there, hypnotic audios. Christian, of course, is doing his amazing sound journeys on there as well.
I'm coming on as well.
And Dale's coming on as well. So it's a real mix of, it's just a beautiful wealth of resources that are really going to help people to transform their lives, or just to get a little bit of something positive in their day. It can be quite tough. People are feeling a bit isolated and a bit negative. So just to really boost their positivity as well. And you can, and there is, like what Christian said, there is a membership, but it's just £1 a month. So we want to keep it really, really cheap so that people can actually really afford to be members of the Awaken Podcast family, and come and subscribe, get a membership, and experience all of the wealth of these wonderful pearls of well-being wisdom that are all in there for people to see. Lots of new things going in every month as well. It's gonna be really exciting. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I am as well. It sounds really, really cool. So I'm going to wrap up the show this evening, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to do another show at some point with both of you and go into therapy and the importance of therapy, and kind of look into different therapies and go down that angle. But I do feel that with this show has been very special, and everyone's shared their own personal truths, and it's an absolute honor to be friends with both of you and share this journey and share my show and what Amanda's doing, what Christian's doing. It's beautiful to see everyone coming together.
Yeah, amen to that. Love it.
Amen.
Thank you for having us on. It's just been gorgeous.
Thank you, Amanda.
To have you both in my life too.
Thank you so much. And so just quickly, how I think you said how we can get a hold of you at the start, but just a quick, again, if they weren't listening at the start, anybody, just how can we get a hold of you, Amanda and Christian?
Google Amanda Joy. TalkingStickShow.co.uk for my website. If you're interested in training to be a therapist, if that's something that you're feeling really drawn to, it's the Northern College of Clinical Hypnotherapy. Just drop it in Google. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the social medias. Amanda Joy or the Northern College of Clinical Hypnotherapy. And if you look up #Wednesday Wellbeing as well, I'm sure you'll come across some of the amazing podcasts with just the most beautiful guests that have been fantastic in sharing their well-being wisdom with me on my show too. So you can find me on all of those different platforms and formats. And
there. Christian.
Yeah, you can find me again. Just do a search in Google. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. It's at Sound Journey by Christian. I also have my own YouTube channel again, Sound Journey by Christian, and my website is www.soundjourneybychristian.co.uk. And in respect of the soon to be launched Awaken podcasts, it is awakenpodcasts.com. It's correct.
I'll pop that.
It is. Yeah, we've got .com and .co.uk, but we'll pop those out there.
Yeah, www.awakenpodcasts.com will be launching soon. So watch
February.
Watch this space. And if you want to see down below as well in the description, I'll pop it all down there, and Christian and Amanda's details as well. And for myself, if you're wanting psychic surgery sessions, which include a reading, and I do past life regression as well. And as well, I do hypnotherapy sessions at the moment as well, which I'm pushing myself to do a little bit more. So I thank everyone as well. I thank you again, Amanda, Christian, for coming on, and everyone who supported me so far on my journey. I just want to say thank you so much, and I'm so grateful for you. So we'll be back at some point next week, and we'll have Christian and Amanda on the show very soon again to go into therapy and all the angles from there.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you. You're not alone if anybody wants to speak.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Amanda.
Here.
So fantastic to be part of this with both of you. Thank you. It's a phenomenal.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.